everything, all of our education is project-based learning, which is basically means we don't just sit there and read text. We actually tried that, and it was not as successful. Thing about reading text about Jewish environmental ideas is extraordinarily boring and does not create that intense emotional connection that we talked about earlier on. And the other thing that we do is not only think about Jewish environmental education as well as these grand things that need to have, take a day or an hour or a week to do. There's a lot of education that happen in snippets, literally like 30-second sound bites, and I'll refer back to when we go through each one of these things. So in terms of the modeling, hiring passionate role models, practice what we preach. We're really open about the struggles that we encounter. So, for example, we at our food we really serve we aim to serve sustainable food, and sustainable food means that we look at where the food comes from, how much it costs, and how easy it is to cook for 150 people, including staff, that's how many people we have at a time. And we're very open with our community about those struggles, because very often, we'd like to serve everything local and organic, but it is prohibitively expensive. Or, for example, there are a lot of bananas that grow in the Colorado mountains, and kids like eating bananas in the morning, so we import them from Guatemala. But we try getting organic when possible. On meat days, as an example, the meat we serve at camp is not local, it's not organic. It is probably some of the worst factory farm kosher meat you could buy, but it is extraordinarily inexpensive. So the once a week or once every other week that we serve meat, we choose to serve that type of meat. And the last thing that's really important is we empower and encourage our campers and staff to make changes as needed. We don't just stand from above and say this is what's going to go on, but we really look to them to create change. To go back to this composting this past summer at camp, I wanted to compost just a tiny little amount because we didn't have the facility to do large-scale composting. Well, sure enough, the council and staff totally overruled me and basically made the facilities to compost, and every few days we actually truck a load of compost. We have huge ranch. We truck it up to an area that we never even go to, so I wasn't worried about vermin eating it. And next year we'll have this beautiful compost. In terms of project-based learning, obviously working with teens and young kids of any age, you need to make the text relevant, and all lessons need to lead to tangible action. So I'll give you some examples of what we did. Dina, if you can give me a 3-minute warning or 4-minute warning when I need to just type me, that would be great. Recycle to cook. So we listed this directly from the Sukkah project that happened in New York last year. The idea was the kids actually spent a week on a trail, taking it out and learning about all the different laws relating to Sukkot, what some of the largest spiritual meaning was around Sukkot, and building and going out for a few days and living in a Sukkah. And then we did this with our 9th and 10th graders. You can see in the picture, they actually designed a halachic Sukkot that out of whatever natural materials they found around the property. The original goal was to actually bring these down to Denver, to the JCC, in one of the big schools here in the parking lot, and show them around Sukkot, much like they did in New York City. But as you can see, the kids were so innovative, they created Sukkot that we couldn't possibly move. And this year is not only the kosher Sukkah the kid is sitting in, but it's also a hut that can be used for regular shelter. Our prayer sanctuary used to be an old ropes course. They actually turned it into, we cut down the old ropes course, and every single camper who's come to our property has helped build we call it our Pardes Tefillah, our prayer area, which is basically logs that we found all over the place, coupled with this random recycled material that we found, and we have this incredible prayer space. Eco Ninjas, our youngest campers, decided they will learn all about waste. They decided to call themselves Eco Ninjas, and on themselves started publishing this newsletter. It was one of the cutest things, having like 5th grade boys publishing a newsletter about why you need to recycle. And just to run through some of the other chicken tree planting, Havela garden, right? You could do this no matter where you are. Even if you are never stepped outdoors with your kids, you could create a Havela garden right there in your classroom by just planting all the spices you need for the Havela garden. Or, of course, as we did, we found old tires lying around the ranch and used those as a planting bin. The food education is a huge part of what we do with environmental education, and that is obviously ongoing for all parts. And then something we do is we constantly are referring back to the projects both at camp and on the trail in order to have that continuity between what we learn and what we practice. A few micro lessons. I mentioned that not everything we do has, it's a 45-hour-minute lesson. Marby's Booze. These are literally 30 seconds to 2-minute long lessons that we just inject throughout the day, and they couple together at the end of 4 weeks. Kids realize this is something that's important to us. You're looking at a picture of Marby's Booze. We weigh waste after every meal, and well, not every meal, but one meal a day, and we always say ochli mashe rotzim, ochli mashe rotzim, v'lochlim mashe ochlim. I'm confusing now. Basically, we eat what we take, and we take what we eat. Well, we take what we need, and we eat what we take. And the kids really get it. Like on the first day of camp, you see kids throwing away tons of food. By day 5, that's kids that is not throwing away food. It can totally be done if you all you do is serve snacks at your facility. Totally can be done. Food factoid. We have a bulletin board before you walk into the dining hall with a random factoid about something related to food. It can be about fruit. It can be about some of the food we're eating. It can be about anything related to food. Kids read it. They get into reading. We change it every day. That doesn't take even 10 seconds to implement. Organic meat is something that we're going to do next year. For every meal we serve, have a imagine the dial load high. How much organic produce is in this meal? How much organic? Sometimes it's going to be super high, sometimes it's going to be super low. And you see there is a spectrum right there. Again, that could be done if all you're doing is serving snack at your institution. It certainly can be done. Egg counter. We just count the number of eggs we have every day from our local chickens. Probably not going to be done if you don't work in a camp. Food information on salad bar. Our salad bar at camp basically looks like Whole Foods. Just like you have at Whole Foods, here's what it is, and here are the ingredients in it. We do the exact same thing. Where the food came from, sometimes how much it was, organic, local. Can totally be done. If all you're doing is serving Oreo cookies and apple juice at snack time, you absolutely could be doing this sort of thing, and you might change your information, like amount of sugar or whatever the information is. A composting bin, I already talked about meal preparation, Geniza building, totally can be done. Even Geniza could be collected indoors and related to what exactly connecting the Geniza to the recycling, to the idea of not being wasteful of Shema Teva, like really looking out for our natural resources. Ultimately, what we're doing is, yes, you're bearing God's name. We're actually bearing the paper on which God's name was written. So this in terms of key ingredients, obviously mentioned again, being close to nature is clearly in our something we got going for us. The passion is that. But let me tell you, I taught in schools in urban settings and absolutely positively done outdoor Jewish education. In Middle San Francisco, I did one of those incredible lessons. That I thought it was an incredible lesson because it worked so well. We were in the middle of San Francisco on a shut-up a group of actually camp directors, and did an entire lesson about finding radical amazement right there along the pier in San Francisco. And radical amazement, you can walk around and open your eyes to those quote-unquote wow moments. We're looking at the huge buildings. We're looking at the interactions between people walking on the street. We're looking at how grass is growing in the middle of a crack in the sidewalk. That is, and it was truly one of the more spiritual moments I've had, literally sitting on the Embarcadero in San Francisco. Garbage games. This can be done if you're working in a classroom. It can be done if you're working in a beautiful camp setting. Just really going through your garbage, taking account of what you were throwing out, what you were using, and making that like a regular practice. Because when you do, kids will eventually realize that. But there is no such thing as throwing away. This land of away does not exist. To throwing it into another place. The last thing I'll have to talk about, and again, we have a pretty nice facility, is this idea of aspirational art. When we are thinking about our camp program, everything we enter, we want to know where we're going to be bringing them developmentally. The kids have to want to come back year after year, because that's what we really do. We build on education from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and so on and so forth. And so there can be an aspirational arc, let's say, within the riding program. the goal the goal on the lower level is just to get on a horse and ride basic stuff, right? What you get into is to be able to, basically gallop through the fields bareback. The same thing is true with a food educational model. With the younger kids, all we're trying to do is to get them to understand or to enable them to understand